bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Hey, what's going on? It's the Bottom Line. You've got us on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Clint Scott with Chris Snead and Jackson Frazier. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We get this from Steven. We're a lot nicer to Steven on the Bottom Line than Tech Talk. They always yell stuff at him.
Why? What did Steven do to them?
I don't know. It's just Aaron's just
Who's
just a
is
big
Aaron?
meanie.
Is Aaron the jerk?
Aaron just always yells "suck it, Steve" as soon as he
Suck
says
it,
it.
Steve.
Yeah.
Your team's poor.
Yeah, we're a lot nicer to Steven. How are you today, Steven? Glad to have you with the program. Thanks for listening. He gets this. What are the rules regarding the spider cam? What if a pass or punt hits the cables?
It's a do-over.
Is the ball still in play?
It's a do-over.
Which I guess that happened on one of Mac Jones's interceptions, correct?
Did it happen?
It grazed.
I've only had
grazed
one.
the wire, but they didn't catch it.
Yeah,
the defense caught it, but I don't think the staff on the field caught it.
Well, we didn't catch it. We had a punt actually hit the spider cam wire in the Florida Georgia game. Gosh, what is it? What year is this? Probably 5 years ago, 4 years ago. And the punt was head up and it fell straight down. That's the reason why we all kind of said that was weird. Punt just went straight down and it hit a guy. And so we're all looking at it and the punter goes, "Hey, it hit the wire." And so replay got involved and replay actually saw that it hit the wire. And so it was a do-over. It's like hitting the scoreboard at Cowboy Stadium.
That's one of those, if it hits the wire, is so interesting because it's such a finite amount of space for you to touch. It's like, how does that happen?
I don't know. The funny thing about it is when they have the spider cam, or the sky cam or whatever you want to call it, they have what's called code orange. Code orange is when the spider cam falls.
Ooh.
Because that can happen.
Ooh.
If the spider cam falls and lands on the field, code orange. And I was like, everyone clear the field. Well, duh. We're not going to go play around it. I was like, oh, the spider cam's down over there. We're just going to go play around that thing. No, it's code orange.
Just don't throw it over there. Yeah, no one run around over here.
Yeah, don't run around over here.
Run left. It's to the right.
Yeah. I was kind of like, okay. I mean, the funny part is that they actually have a code for it. And that, that we would, I guess no one saw that thing fall out of the sky.
2319. Steven says Universal Steve 8. No, we're not about that, man. That's Tech Talk. They're angry over there. Captain Snead, we have a question for you from the NFL.
The National Football League. Da, 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 da. Sorry.
No. Who do you think has had a more disappointing season if you are their fan base? Because there's, to me, right now, at least what I have had some interest in, 4 interesting storylines. You start with Russell Wilson as they go to London and the Denver Broncos doing high knees on the plane while everyone is asleep.
Doing high knees?
High knees on the plane. Because he was out last week. I think it was a hamstring. I guess he's keeping his legs loose. Something like that. But while everyone is asleep, he's decided to do high knees on the plane. The Broncos, not exactly setting the league on fire. One team tonight who's in action. We'll have it on 100.7 The Score at 6:30 for Thursday Night Football. You have the Buccaneers and Tom Brady. You have the Packers and Aaron Rodgers starting to say, hey, maybe an interview with Pat McAfee, maybe we should be cutting some of the reps. Apparently, no one has called him out for it on his team, as he said today in an interview. And then you have Matt Ryan getting benched for Sam Ehlinger with the Colts. Who's the most disappointed out of those 4 fan bases? Or who should be?
I think that the group that thought that they were the closest with their free agent acquisition was Denver. And I don't think that they realize how far away with their new football coach, their lack of receivers and really lack of a running game or anything that really resembles an offense other than Russell Wilson. I think the team that actually was closest was Matt Ryan and the Indianapolis Colts. However, he is underachieved. So in a weird way, I'd probably say it's actually Indianapolis because they were probably closer to success.
And they had a couple key defensive injuries too, but I don't think any of those were season-ending. And that's a defense in Indianapolis. When you look at the Phillip Rivers year and you look at the Carson Wentz year, was good enough to get to the playoffs or at least hang around the playoffs. And again, but neither of those guys just setting the league on fire either. And so you're just asking for above average. Also a great running game from the Colts,
here's
too.
the thing about Indianapolis. I don't necessarily know that they're benching him because he's terrible. They're benching him because if he gets hurt, they're on the hook for $29 million.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a large chunk of change to pay to a guy that's, because it's evident that they're going to cut him.
Mm-hmm.
But if he gets hurt in the next, however many weeks are left in the season, if he gets hurt, that's $29 million large right there that they got to pay up to a guy that's has decidedly not helped them out. But I also think the cap hit is harder on their team if they just cut him right now. So they have to maintain him this year, not play him because they can't get hurt, and play a lesser person because that's kind of the way to football go.
Now, and he's had a bad shoulder at least from last week, but he was. In an article, he said he was shocked and surprised that he was getting benched. He was turning his focus as he recovers on that sore shoulder for the Washington Commandos. It's interesting that that's the one you picked. And I like your reasoning for it because they do have a good defense. And it's funny, they've been trying to do the same formula over there with who they've got in as a quarterback every single year for the past 3 years.
You know who they all kind of resemble a little bit? Frank Reich.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as far as what was expected, because the Packers, you have Aaron Rodgers, you have a very proud franchise over there, but they watched one of the best receivers in the league get traded to the artist formerly known as Oakland, now Las Vegas, and Devontae Adams. And that's been such a finicky relationship with LaFleur and the franchise and ownership and Rodgers for years. I feel like their expectations maybe dipped a little bit. The Buccaneers, I think you're finally officially seeing Father Time catch up to Tom Brady a little bit.
I don't think that's no. I don't.
But also,
I don't
the team has just played horrible too.
I think you actually what you're seeing is not fully focused Tom Brady catch up.
Outside life Tom Brady too.
Tom Brady has been able to compartmentalize his life all these years, because everything has been copacetic, and I think his family's been behind him. I think for the first time in Tom Brady's career, his family is 100% not behind him doing what he's doing this year. And I think that you're seeing the results of that this year. And again, a guy that's even more fiery on the sidelines than he's normally been, a guy that's not been as focused and as driven as he has been in the past. And if you're married to a supermodel who makes 4 times what you do, if she says, I want you to retire, the only 2 correct answers are, the words are, yes, dear.
And he did, though. That's the thing. Like, I did.
And then
I
he
decided
felt
to come
he had
back.
to get back. And, and she just said, hey, you got a $345 million contract. I'm going to make $1 billion in the next 10 years, so I'm leaving you.
And there was the long-standing joke of any time Tom Brady lost an important game, a primetime game, which didn't happen a lot, hasn't happened a lot in his career, like, well, he's not too mad going home to Giselle. Well, he's not going home to Giselle anymore. I think my answer would still be the Broncos, though, because of how much, you finally got rid of Drew Lock. That guy dancing on the sideline, being crazy, underachieving, and it's looked, I would say, worse. It's looked worse, and it's not Russell Wilson's fault, but that's a big contract that he got, and you go, boy, you finally got a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and the Broncos offense has been one of, if not the worst thing, at least to watch, and also statistic-wise, in the National Football League, which is just not shocking to me. Doesn't sound like it's shocking to you. But to Broncos fans, and I think to a lot of the NFL, bewildered by it. Russell Wilson's there. Oh, you have to have other players? What? Let Russ cook.
But Russ can't cook if he ain't got no ingredients, man. I'm telling you, man. Was he going to make grilled cheese every day? He can't do that. Ramen only takes you so far. I don't care if you put Miracle Whip in it. He got Spam to put in his ramen. Get the man some filet.
Russ is cooking with some government cheese and peanut butter that's watered down. Good times over there in Denver. It's the bottom line on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Action Jackson's play of the day when we come back.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
You got the bottom line on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Clint Scott with Jamie Lent and Jackson Frazier taking care of us behind the glass. Keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, all that and more. Welcomed there on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Let's get some thoughts from the coaches. We'll start with the head coach. And we've talked a lot, of course, about Baron Morton in the quarterback battle this week. As Tyler Shuck comes back and you have a fully healthy, I should say, quarterback room with Morton, Smith, and Shuck. For Morton specifically, here is what head coach Joey McGuire said he needs to work on after last week. A great performance against the West Virginia Mountaineers, but here's what he said, what he still needs to work on.
You know, he'll be the first one to tell you we missed 3 wide open touchdowns. So either, getting to his second or third read faster when that first read's not there, or the first read. I mean, there were 3 that and one we didn't score on. I think we ended up kicking a field goal. So I think that's a big thing. I think the biggest thing that he did that progressed that we got to continue to do is throw the ball away when something's not there. Because the big difference on Saturday is we only had 5 negative plays. I mean, against North Carolina State, we were in second 10 plus 17 times. Against Oklahoma State, we were in second 10 plus 15 times. So, I thought that was a big part of him keeping us, even if it's 2nd and 9 or 2nd and 8, keeping us in plays that were not a lot of negative plays, and that's going to be big this week because they're a high-pressure defense, so keeping us, ahead of the chains, or even if it's, where we got to go 9 yards versus 10, 12, 13, it's a big difference. So I thought he really did a good job there.
There was a lot there. I definitely didn't notice him missing the 3 touchdowns. It must have been a situation where he read one thing, threw the ball one way. It wasn't as if he, like we would have noticed if he overthrew a receiver or underthrew him, and that cost you a touchdown. But that's interesting. That there were 3 different times where they felt like they had the right play and they had a receiver that was going to be open and would have scored, because watching the game, I sure didn't notice it. I think he's absolutely right. I think it is huge to avoid those negative plays, and that number, every time it gets brought up against NC State, of 17 times they were, 2nd and 10 plus. Is just a crazy number. But the interesting part there is, I wonder how many, if you went back and looked at it, how many times was it because of a running play, or how many times was it because of a pass attempt that ended up with a sack? It felt like more times than not it was a run. I mean, the defensive line for NC State just lived in the offensive backfield, and it wasn't that you were dropping back to pass and getting sacked, and I know you did get sacked a few times, but it was on running plays where you kept losing yardage. So I do, and moving on to one of his final points about Barron getting rid of the ball last week, I thought he did a terrific job. I think that's one of the things that has shown for him that he's done better than Donovan is he's making quicker decisions, whether that means to tuck and run, whether that means to throw to receiver, or whether that means to, hey, there's nothing going on here, I'm just going to throw the ball away. So I think he's done a better job than Smith was doing with that. So I think that's a big deal, and that's something that maybe you don't think much about as a quarterback. You think about, oh, he can throw this ball deep, or he's got a strong arm, or he's really accurate, or whatever. But there has to be that part where he's got that internal clock that they talk about, where he has to know, I got to get out of the pocket and do something, whether that's I'm going to run the football or I'm just going to get rid of the football. Those things seem like maybe they're not that big of a deal, but they really are.
And I know now the conversation has shifted to, okay, is it Morton or Shuck moving on, right? I think we've gone away from, is it Morton or Smith, or is it Shuck or Smith? And part of that is you look to what you're saying.
I think the conversation more is about, is it Shuck or Smith as the backup?
Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. Yes.
Because I don't think it's really Shuck versus Morton at this point.
That's what was face value said anyways. Yeah. But you look at the difference from the two quarterbacks you've had a good look at this season. That's kind of something I was surprised about with Smith is you mentioned the internal clock and just being able to sense when the pressure was there. And this also goes into making those quicker reads that you've seen from Morton make. Who, by the way, made even, to me, now step down in defense and you're in a more friendly environment from game 2 to game 1, but still felt like he even made strides just in that from the Oklahoma State game to the West Virginia game. But that was something I was kind of surprised with Smith, because, I mean, how many times were we just begging for him, just pull it and take off. Just pull it and take off. Just go.
Take 4 or 5 rather than it turn into a 5-yard loss. Yeah.
And like you said, we've seen that from Morton and more from him with their mentioning, just being smart with it and throwing the ball away. And, all we heard about from Morton is, boy, that dude's a gunslinger, which now in today's football age makes me a little bit worried, right? Because I hear gunslinger now and I hear picks. Yeah. I hear interceptions.
Turnover machine.
And that was something you were trying to get away from your early Big 12 play. And going back to Houston, too. And, boy, he's been I think that's the thing that shocked me the most is how smart he's been with the football.
Not a lot of situations where you felt like, oh, man, he got away with one there. Mm-hmm. Okay. The one interception they had against Oklahoma State that was pretty costly felt like there was a bad read. Mm-hmm. And he threw into... I guess you'd call it double coverage, but there are actually 3 guys there. But that one looked like maybe a poor decision. But you're right. I mean, how many decisions is a quarterback making on the field in every single game? Not just you think, oh, just the ones that he throws, but what play am I getting into? Which receiver am I looking to? Should I throw? Should I not throw? All that on every single play, right? Mm-hmm. So if he's making just a few that you're questioning, I think you'd say that's pretty good, and I would say even NFL quarterbacks are not perfect in that.
Right, and it was trying not to overreact.
Except Patrick Mahomes,
and no one did.
The right one.
Yeah. Except against Buffalo. Oh, that was setting up the Bills for a Super Bowl hopes, right? There was a kid walking by setup today wearing a Chiefs hoodie as I was wearing my Chiefs hoodie. Gave him a fist bump. He didn't look like he was going to be into the chest bump. And as he's walking away, Jamie goes, "Yeah, go Bills!"
Oh, I was talking to you, not him.
Oh, okay. Well, I told him he was talking to you. That's embarrassing for him. But again, everything that I feel like we'd heard of from spring work and stuff like that, I was expecting from Morton the buying time. There's a window. I can fit it in there every single time. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't done that. He hasn't played hero ball.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which I think has been great. Coach McGuire also talked about playing a complete game against West Virginia.
I think we just we continue with what we're really working on is concentrating on taking the ball away, emphasizing that. Ball security, that's one thing Coach Kidley talked yesterday or Sunday. Yeah, yesterday, about, we had some balls that were on the ground, so we got to do a better job with that. So just emphasizing that, making it about football, really emphasizing what we need to do. And then, I think there's always things whenever you come out of a game that even I do agree it was our probably most complete game. There's things to work on. I don't think we tackled as well as what we need to in the run game, and we're fixed to face a team that wants to run the football, does a great job running the football, and so there's always things to work on during the week. But again, it goes back to what we talk about. There's three things we talk about: the brand, the player coach's oath, and the plan to win, and we just try to keep it all about that.
Coming off a game, of course, where you turn West Virginia over 4 times. I mean, I don't know about you. I'll just say this. I don't think you're getting 4 turnovers against Baylor. I think they're going to take care of the ball a little bit more. But I look at the Baylor offense and what they like to do, and I really like the matchup with your defense. You mentioned it's a run-heavy offense with Shapen. They're going to do a lot of play action with him. I don't think that they are as not bought in with Shapen, because they're bought in with Shapen. They were the moment they asked Bohannon to not be their starter and said, hey, we're letting you know early so you can go find a new spot. But he's not the kind of gunslinger he looked like the last 2 weeks of last season. It's more of a extended game manager, and that's how they've treated him. So I don't know if you're going to be put in as many situations unless you can force some fumbles. But I really like your defensive matchup with their offense.
The fact that they are run heavy and you've defended the run really well this year definitely gives me confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with you in that.
Confidence up to a 7.5 or an 8 yet?
We're at 5.2 today again.
More next on 100.7 The Score.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
That music means it's time for the fastest growing game show in the world, Take versus Take. We play it right here on the Bottom Line on 100.7 The Score every weekday at 1:30. And 1:30 it is. Clint Scott and Jamie Lent are your competitors today. Jackson Waxon has the questions today. Jamie, how's your competitive meter reading today?
Extremely high.
Extremely high. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Laser focused.
Laser focused.
You facing a Hall of Fame opponent?
No.
Oof.
Nope.
Couldn't even fake it. All right, Jackson, take it away.
All right, Clamp. What is the best Halloween costume you've ever worn?
Personal favorite, and I've actually told Choice this, and he got like visibly angry at me. I was a really big Walker, Texas Ranger fan when I was a kid. I'm not from Texas. And I went as Walker, Kansas Ranger one year. All denim, cowboy hat, had the little kind of leather vest thing going around, had a badge. Nobody wanted to be my Cordell, though. Couldn't find a Cordell. That was tough.
What's the Kansas part?
Just because I'm from Kansas, I'm not from Texas. As a kid, I wasn't making a whole lot of sense. I just knew that I wasn't from Texas. But I was a big fan of that show, and I just love that one. An early pun from Clint Scott that I had to explain because, as I would show up to people's doors, like, oh, are you a sheriff? I'm Walker, Kansas Ranger. Come on, I'm Chuck Norris. God.
Chicken Roundhouse, anybody?
Everybody that asked me if I was a sheriff.
Anybody
that handed me a popcorn ball, whoosh, roundhouse.
Nice. I think it was 3rd or 4th grade. We took a box, and a big box, and we painted it all white. We cut some arm holes in it, and then we did a whole bunch of other painting on it. And I went as a milk carton, which was fun because at my elementary school we did a Halloween parade.
I'm just picturing that with your face on it, and I'll just be like, oh no, is Jamie Lent missing? He's on a milk carton.
So it was pretty sweet. Mm-hmm.
Walker, Kansas Rangers. So I'm not giving Clint the point because of the name. Not because of what he was, but because of the early puns that started what he is today.
Thank you.
And milk carton, Jamie. It just all comes together so well.
Does. Absolutely.
All right, Jamie, we'll give you this.
Wait, so who had the point?
Jamie did.
Oh, what?
The part where I said I'm not giving
I
you
thought
a
you were
point.
going in. I'm not giving it to you because you're a Walker, Kansas Ranger. I thought it was leading into, but I'm giving it to you for another reason. And then I didn't get blindsided. Milk carton Jamie's pretty good though. How did you walk? That just seems like you'd be penguin striding around town.
Well, it was big enough that my legs were able to move freely.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your suggestion?
I think it was my mom's. Mm-hmm.
All right, Jamie, what is your favorite reality TV show?
Favorite reality TV show?
I
Tiger
asked-
King?
I don't know if that counts as real. I say it because I've gotten super into Pawn Stars, and that's
Okay.
technically reality
All right.
TV.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go with Homestead Rescue. Okay, for a couple different reasons. I also would like to live off the grid. The fact that they go in there and they can help people and fix all these things in a short amount of time and make it easier for them to live off the grid, I think is great. And I also love how much my wife can't stand that the main guy wears his shirt with like 4 buttons undone. And so it shows some of his chest. It drives her nuts. And so that also makes me enjoy the show a little bit more too. Just to see her every time. Oh, this guy. Don't you just want to button it up for him? Yeah. So yeah, it's a good show. I like it. Right now it's one of my top 2 or 3 favorite things to watch.
Mine, like that I watch, are all in the same vein because it's like Alone, Naked and Afraid, all of those. But my clear-cut number one is the Swamp People show. Like it's so. I just love that it's one of the few shows where they're speaking English and you still need subtitles when they're doing their little cutaway scenes and like it's just 30 minutes of yelling, shoot a little bit, shoot the gator, shoot it right now. Just yelling that and going down to the swamp to get some gumbo.
What's the main guy's name? Troy? Somebody's Troy. Troy. Somebody's Troy. My favorite.
I like the brothers.
Yeah, no, I like the guy who goes overalls and no shirt.
Oh yeah, he's good too.
Yes. But again, we've this one. I mean, the best version of it is when they leave Louisiana and they head to the Florida Everglades, and they catch pythons.
I still haven't watched that one yet.
Serpent Invasion. It's like an offspring of swamp people. Yeah.
There's something about Cajuns are just fun to listen to.
They are. You can't understand them, but they're fun to listen to.
I'm gonna go with Clint.
I
Duck
think
Dynasty was such a big deal when I was growing up. I think it was like there was a good whole like school year. I forgot what year it was where I think like everybody watched that show. I never watched that much of it, but everyone watched it. It was like the thing at my school for a whole year.
I've never seen an episode of it. Ever.
I think that they should do a crossover sometime and have them switch, like have the Housewives cast go do the Swamp People stuff, and the Swamp People have to go do like the Housewives stuff.
Yeah, I'm
So,
sure the
like-
housewives are going to be out there catching gators with their bare hands and pythons with their bare hands.
Well, you know, old Troy is being like, "Can you believe what Shanice said about me? I will not stand for that."
They seem like good guys,
Oh yeah, they're just
good people.
down to earth.
Yep.
All right, so we're all tied up. Clint, what is the best in-stadium food?
I would say it's not. I don't think it's just linked to one place, but I think most of the time when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking of the Cubs. Anytime you have the helmet, and I'm not the little helmet, like the full helmet of just loaded down nachos. I mean, sign me up, and I do the work. So, of course, you have to have the queso, but then you get sour cream, guacamole, some sort of hot peppers. If you can get some like chili meat or something like that in there, I mean, sign me up. And then you have a helmet. Although I would rinse it out before you put on the helmet.
That's good thinking there to rinse it out first.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my favorite of all time, and that's the version of brisket macaroni and cheese in Omaha at the College World Series. I mean, it's macaroni and cheese, it's brisket, it's barbecue sauce, it's onion rings, it's bacon bits. It's the greatest thing ever. And everything tastes better in Omaha. Everything.
That's like Jamie's gonna do whenever they start their season against Gonzaga. Jamie's gonna be the pregame speech. Guys, this is why we need to make it to Omaha, not just because you'll be living legends for the university. We gotta go get that brisket, onion ring, mac and cheese.
And this
Come
is,
on.
And this is exactly why Coach Tadlock doesn't let me talk to the team.
Tad lad, go back to the Tad cave.
You can't beat brisket mac and cheese. So Jamie gets the point and wins take versus take.
Whoop whoop.
You like that? No.
You like that?
I don't like that. We'll trade you to the Vikings. No, I won't, because that's just my team, I guess, technically. So.
Yeah, it is your team.
Mm-hmm. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that's on the board. You like that? We get this on the 820 Center channel. Swamp Housewives, weed strain. Swamp Housewives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be fun, too, to do the actual Swamp Housewives. Like, that's a housewife show I would pay attention to. Their wives, I'm like, yeah, Troy brought in a gator, and I just had to clean it, and took me 2 hours to get all the scales and the tails and the teeth out, but it sure tasted good. Like,
we had a good weed strain this morning. It was Speedo Moonwalk.
So usually, we get these horse names, weed strains,
Mm-hmm.
crayon colors for something we were talking about. How did we get to Speedo Moonwalk?
How did we get
there? What was A to B?
It was the conversation about Baron Morton struggling, or not struggling, but not performing as well in practice
Mm-hmm.
as some would like. And I said, now that we've seen 2 games of him being really, really good on Saturdays, I don't care if he spends all of practice in a Speedo doing moonwalk, doing the moonwalk. As long as he keeps playing like he's playing on Saturday, he's the starter.
Ultimate prank to, like, I guess this week would be Baylor. Like, someone sends in an anonymous, like, VHS or burnt DVD, like, oh, this is what they're going to do. We got secret video surveillance at practice. And it's just Baron Morton moonwalking in a Speedo. Gotcha. Sorry, Aranda. Tricked you.
Yeah.
I keep hitting us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line.
Is that what you expected? Speedo moonwalk?
I thought it was from Chuck, I'll be honest.
No, it was from.
I thought it was from over at the Colony.
No, that's overdressed for the Colony.
Oh, dressing up. It's fancy night, over at the Colony. It's a cold one. Make sure to wear your warm Speedos today at the Colony. More on 100.7 The Score.
Getting to the point, but taking the scenic route to get there. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
It's the bottom line on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Singing Whoa-Ho here on the bottom line. A little bit of Weezer bringing us back. Shout out to Jackson Fraser taking care of us. Clint Scott with Jamie Lent. Hit us up on the H Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, all of that. Welcome there. We got this from Bobby Hot Dogs. At least she didn't hit him with a suck it, Steve. It's true.
Or Kick Rocks, Philly boy.
Kick rocks, Philly boy. I can't remember who commented that yesterday, but that was used a lot today. So thank you so much. This from Raiders Dad. Why do all pet cats have debilitating issues? I don't know. Ours weren't debilitating. He's just kind of spazzy and half blind. A little overweight. He'd get stressed out for a while and start like plucking his legs. So we had like these little chicken legs for a while. He looked really funny.
What?
I don't know what it was.
Pulling the hair off his leg?
Yeah, he was like obsessively grooming all the time. And so like he just
Is there anything grosser than like the pictures you've seen of a hairless cat or dog? Oh, it's so freaky looking.
This is one I just can't do. My wife really wants a hairless cat. So essentially a snake with legs. And
Oh my gosh.
She showed me this video of like she's like, watch this cute little hairless cat. And he's like sitting on a glass table and they're taking a picture from underneath. Like, there's nothing hiding all that stuff that should be hidden for one of those things. Like, leaving little marks on the table. And then the other one, like, showed, like, when you touch a cat's back, and they're like, whoop, and like do that weird, like, they shake their whole back.
Okay.
I know I'm nailing this right now with what I'm doing. Showed that, like, with a hairless cat, and just freaked me out. The reaction was like immediate wrinkles. It's nuts. Didn't like it. Raiders dad, when Clint starts talking about his cats, I want to splatter my brains on the window. Please don't do
Seems a little bit over the top, man.
Raiders dad, don't do it.
Gosh.
Oh, by the way, Lent is back with us. We're all very happy. He rested in peace, and now he's awake in terror. He's back. Everyone was worried about you.
Okay.
Got a lot of greeting cards in the mail for R.I.P. Lent from yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm really more of a dog person, but cats are easier to deal with when going out of town. They're more self-reliant. Just put out some food and water, and they're happy. Good point. Steven said, left my cats behind.
Yeah, so the best part about cats is...
You don't have to pay attention to them.
they're good when you leave them at home and you leave town.
That's funny.
I think at that point I'm just like, I just don't need a pet.
Oh. Steven says, left my cats behind in a divorce. I miss Jackson and George. Named after Jackson Frazier, of course. George was black and blind.
I miss him too.
Was his nickname Stevie?
I wonder.
No comment.
You started the joke. I just went with it. I need my Mahomes.
I think you went up to me.
I need my Mahomes jersey signed this weekend. How could I make this possible? I mean, just come over to Optimum Game Day Live and we'll sign it. No worries.
Swing by within the next hour and a half. We'll sign it.
Yeah, we'll bring Sharpies with us.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have them here.
I always have one in my backpack. So
you have multiple Sharpies?
I think I do have a gray and a silver. Excuse me, a black and a silver.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like probably be a silver Sharpie situation if we're signing his Mahomes shirt.
Just kind of depends which color you're putting it on.
That's
If it's
true.
red, you probably would want the black.
That's true. We get this on the chat line too. Very important question. Why Clint Baylor's turned it over 7 times in the last 2 games? True. Why do you think they will protect the ball better this week? Doesn't make sense. I don't think you'll get 4 turnovers this week because it's really hard to have back-to-back 4 turnover games.
Yeah, it could happen. You just have had just one of those so far this season. So I don't assume just because you did it last week that you're going to do it every time now.
Do I think you'll get some turnovers on Saturday? Yeah, I think you'll get probably a couple and would certainly help you. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to turn down another 4 turnover performance, but just saying it's a little hard to do that back-to-back. All right, Jamie, you have a question of the day for us?
I do.
Jamie's question of the day on 100.7 The Score is presented by Bizarre Solutions. Call them today for a free cybersecurity audit.
Jackson and Clint, what were your preseason predictions for Texas Tech as far as wins and losses?
So I had bumped up to 6-6, like week of Murray State. Over most of the offseason, I was 5-7, and I ended at 6-6.
Jackson?
I was a 6-6 guy.
6-6 guy. I also was a 6-6 guy. Okay, so you're 4-3 at this point of the season.
Mm-hmm.
If I tell you you are going to go 2-3 the rest of the way, will you take it?
No. I won't. I think you have a really good shot, really, at all 5 of these games. I think the TCU one, the road game, I think that'll be your most difficult one just by virtue of them right now kind of rolling.
Sure.
And we heard Coach DeRuiter yesterday talk about the shape of the ball. Well, the shape of the ball has been bouncing every time to TCU at this point in the season.
It's got to end at some point.
You would think. They're taking on West Virginia this week. I don't know if it happens this week. So, you have a good shot at you being the one who throws the wrench at the shot for the perfect season for the Horned Frogs. I like your chances against Baylor. I like your chances against Kansas. I believe Jalen Daniels will be back by that game if the timeline is correct. But still, I really like your chances against Kansas, and I like your chances against Oklahoma. all those at home right now with what you've seen from the Sooners, which is borderline hilarious. When we were talking about start of the season stuff, I went, boy, that's going to be probably your hardest game, even though that's a home game because it's the Oklahoma Sooners, and the Oklahoma Sooners have just kind of owned you. They've owned a lot of teams, though, in the Big 12.
Sure they have. Except Kansas State.
Sure, yeah, fair. But I like the shot for all 5 of these, and I like that road game at Iowa State. No, I think you could very easily, it's not going to be impossible to go 5-0. I would lean more to the 3-2, hopefully a 4-1. But if you did go 4-1, I'm not going to be like, wow, didn't see that coming at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't sign up for 2-3. No, I'm rolling the dice if that's the situation.
So his answer was no.
Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
No, I wouldn't go with it. I would roll the dice as well. I think, for me personally, if anything less than 3-2, I'd be more on the disappointed side of just seeing how the team is played so far this year. And I think 4-1 is definitely reachable, and 5-0 isn't crazy to think of either. But to settle with 2-3, I'd be more on the disappointed side, even though that was my preseason prediction.
Right. Even though
this
you'd be
point,
hitting, yeah. I'm with you guys. I would also say no. I think 3-2 is the most likely, but I think 4-1 is possible. Not to say that 5-0 isn't, but I just don't see that happening. But I think 3-2 is. I feel like you can be conservative, even if you are wearing your Red Raider glasses, colored glasses, and still feel like 3-2 is not just being outrageous. Especially when you got 3 home games left on your schedule.
Yeah, 3 home games, and again, you're looking at
And a road trip to a team that hasn't won a conference game yet.
Kansas and Iowa State should be in the bottom half of the conference. Right now, Baylor has played, in my mind, towards the bottom half of the conference.
This one this weekend is huge to me.
How much does it
Because
do?
I think in my mind right now, I have you losing the next 2 and winning the last 3.
Okay, so I was going to ask you then, let's say you did go 2-3 in this last 5. What would your blind guess be as to who you've beat and who you've lost to? So in that situation, you've lost the next 2.
I think if you were 2-3, I would say Kansas at home, Iowa State on the road.
Okay.
And you?
I think if you went 2-3, I would say I just maybe I need to be more wary. I feel really good about the Baylor game. I think you've beat Baylor and you've beat Kansas, and with a shot at being perfect at home, you lost to Oklahoma still and lost at Iowa State and at TCU. I think that's how I see it playing out. Even though Iowa State has given me nothing to have nothing but confidence, even in a road game. I just don't think, as bad as they've been, that Iowa State will be winless in conference play.
Mm-hmm. We talk about, the fact that you're undefeated at home this year. We haven't really talked about the fact that you haven't won a single game on the road.
Sure, and that's part of it.
So that factors into the whole Iowa State thing, and obviously TCU is a good football team, so that's going to be a tough one.
It's the bottom line of 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Hour number 3 up next.
Bringing you the truth, or something like the truth. This is the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is once again time to play a little No Diggity. Clint Scott with Jamie Linton Jackson Frazier. You've got the bottom line on 100.7 The Score and 107thescore.com. Keep hitting us up on the 8th Floor and Center chat line. Last Saturday, the cover band, who does a great job out, I guess, on the west side, northwest side over there during Texas Tech football games, playing some No Diggity.
Oh, yeah, they were.
I
remember that now.
Had to go scramble and find my digitometer just in case. Felt like I needed to do a situational on the spot No Diggity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
It's good.
It's good
stuff. It's good stuff. Maybe. Debatable. It is No Diggity, that time of day where I throw out a situation to Jamie Jackson and you, our fine listening audience. With theirs and your digitometers, you tell us just how much diggity a certain situation has. That certain situation being this. Actually, we're discussing this a little bit there during Jamie's question of the day. And we got to the point where we said, well, hey, over the next 5, and I don't think you will, but if you did go 2-3, what would the wins and losses be that are left on your schedule? And just from how you've played on the road so far, I thought one of those losses would be to Iowa State. Now, again, I'm not expecting this. I'm not calling this. I think you will go beat the Cyclones in Ames, but I was thinking, well, there's no way the Cyclones, the Matt Campbell-led Cyclones, go winless in conference play. It's not that much of a drop-off, right?
Okay.
Certainly not. Well, here's their remaining schedule. They have Oklahoma this week in Ames. They have West Virginia in Ames. They go to Oklahoma State. Of course, they have the Red Raiders second to last week in Ames. And then they go to TCU. Comparatively, not quite the gauntlet schedule like some teams have that have to line up the Cowboys, the Frogs, with a mixture of Texas or Kansas State like some of the teams have, like a Baylor has. But certainly still not easy. And you being one of those, I guess the question too is if you win this week, we haven't really talked about Texas Tech being a top half team of the league, but one, mathematically they'll be there. And on top of that, you've beaten Texas, one of them who's up there, and the 2 ones that you really are just, shaking your head from the losses are 2 of the top 3 in my mind with Kansas State and Oklahoma State. If you beat Baylor, are you in that conversation for you, Jamie?
Conversation of
being in the top half of the league, being a top when you're looking at Texas Tech on an opposing team schedule, that's a top half of the league team, because I think it should be.
Yes, because I think you're knocking Baylor out.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would, because Oklahoma State, TCU, Kansas State, Texas. I put those 4 in the top quadrant grouping. And then Baylor is right there with the Red Raiders. And the Red Raiders, if you beat Baylor and you put yourself at 5, then you're like, why do you have the Longhorns ahead of the Red Raiders?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that's a good question.
So you start, if you win this game with Baylor, you start saying, we might be ahead of 5 and we might be top 4.
Right. Because Texas, beat West Virginia. And it was a very much handled win. Of course, we all know what they did against Oklahoma, but Oklahoma didn't have a shot with their offense. And really not a shot with their defense, too. But that's not a top of half of the league win. Iowa State that they struggled with, that's not a top half of the league win. I guess another question, too, is what point are we certain? Because talent-wise, they should be.
Right.
They should be.
They're getting the benefit of the doubt because of who they were last year.
But at what point is Texas not in that top 4 quadrant anymore?
Okay. I thought you were talking about Baylor. My
bad. Sorry. Bounced off from you talking about Texas.
Yes. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You do have to ask that question. They're gonna. They've played Oklahoma State, but they haven't played TCU yet.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't played K-State yet, correct?
Correct.
They haven't played Baylor yet.
Correct.
Yeah, the Horns. They've got a challenge in front of them. You're right. They could definitely drop out of that top 5.
Mm-hmm. And again, talent-wise, they should be in that top quadrant, but they're depending on what they do, because I think they have Kansas State this week, right?
That's it's that way every year, and that doesn't.
Sure.
It's not been happening.
That's fair. That is a roundabout way, of course, to get back to Iowa State. So I wanted to get to Iowa State, Oklahoma again at home, West Virginia at home, Oklahoma State on the road, Texas Tech at home, and TCU on the road. Iowa State goes over in Big 12 play.
About 90% diggity.
Ooh, diggity. Okay.
I think they get one.
Most winnable game on that, West Virginia at home?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That is their homecoming as well. It says on their little Cyclone ketchup and mustard site. Jackson?
It wouldn't be the shock of all shocks for them to win this weekend.
Yeah. Iowa State, worst quarterback in the league, Hunter Deckers, worst offense in the league, averaging 16 points defensively. That in conference play. In conference play, allowing 19 points a game. So the defense, still good. Still very good. But that offense is atrocious. And they
lit up Southeast Missouri and Ohio.
SEMO. And they disappear in all the wrong moments if you are a Cyclones fan. Jackson, what is your digitometer reading? Do the Cyclones go over in Big 12 play?
I'm going to go like 75% diggity. I think that West Virginia game would be the one that I would circle as their best chance of winning as well.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, West Virginia to me is their most winnable ball game. I'm gonna go 65% no diggity.
Really?
Though. Because again, they have lost so many games in so many hair-pulling ways. The one you could say the other side of that, sure, of, well, yeah, but they've been in all those games. You're dropping touchdown-winning drives. You're missing 3 field goals in a game in Lawrence. You're, fumbling away some of the games too. It's at a certain point you are who you are. And right now, Iowa State is not a winning football team, and if they don't get one of the next two, I don't think they get any of them. And even then, I don't know. I know West Virginia just got stifled here at home against Texas Tech, but nothing has given me any confidence with the Cyclones, other than it's a Matt Campbell-led team, and I guess there's still something to be said for that. But
sure,
yeah. That's why I'm not all the way heavy no diggity, but I'm probably picking. I'll say it this way: as we pick Big 12 games, I'm probably picking against Iowa State every single game if it's straight up. Let us know what you think on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We get this from Bullfighter for my swamp housewife. Sounded like this guy. This is from the Waterboy picture.
Yeah.
That's what I call
Bobby Boucher.
H2O. Bobby Boucher. Now I'm picturing Chuck wearing a Speedo painted up like a tuxedo. Thanks, guys. Anytime. And we could put that horrifying mental image in your head. Bobby Hot Dog says, I think we need to form a roundhouse line to teach him some Texas pride, that being me with my Kansas Walker Ranger, on Saturday at Game Day Live. I'm sure Woodman would help facilitate. I wouldn't trust Woodman because if you're doing a roundhouse, unless you're wanting a roundhouse to my shin, I wouldn't go through choice. Probably wouldn't feel good, though. That's not Chuck Norris style.
No, that's not.
No. If he kicked your shin, your legs would disintegrate. Chuck Norris, not Choice Woodman.
Not Choice.
Choice Woodman. Hey, why doesn't Chuck come out on the afternoon like Jamie? He needs to pull his weight and get back on with AD. Well, then you'd be taking away Gus.
Yeah, wouldn't want to do that.
No, not the doctor. It'll be this day in sports history when we come back. You've got the bottom line, 100.7 The Score, and 100.7thescore.com.
This has been the Bottom Line Podcast from 100.7 The Score. Go to 100-7thescore.com for more from the Double T Sports Network.